You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. And be sure to smash that like button. Shea Dixon on Twitter at Shea Dixon from On3 the Bengal Tiger. How are you, dude?
I'm doing well. How are you, Matt?
I'm doing really, really well. Hey, I saw your tweet earlier. Are you in Manny to interview Talon Singleton, or was that someone else with On3 today?
Yeah, that was Sam Spiegelman with On3. Went over to Manny today, so they were going through some on-field stuff and working out. So you got to watch him and got to interview him, and I caught up with Sam to kind of get his thought on things. But yes, a day to be a few days here to be celebrated. Get a commitment from Talon Singleton on Saturday night, and now obviously we go check him out on Monday. He's pretty excited about getting on board. And Matt, this is some of the bigger news of the summer because there was a stretch where people weren't sure if LSU was going to be able to get a kid out of Manny. They've had some FBS level prospects roll through there, and Singleton for a few years now has had an offer and been on the wish list, and he is Louisiana's top-ranked linebacker. And people just wondered, is he going to go to A&M? Is he going to go to TCU, Arkansas? Tennessee was making a big push for him. And at the end of the day, LSU buckles in, and they drop yet another domino in the state of Louisiana in the cycle where, boy, are they red hot right now in terms of keeping guys at home for college.
Shea, I want to ask, because you mentioned about Manny, is there something there that I just like? I mean, I'm certainly not as deeply embedded in recruiting as you are, but what's the deal with not being able to get players out of Manny?
I think it's overblown to an extent. They've had a number of guys come through there and look at some people, at least in the Manny area, or at least LSU fans, wanted to point to the old regime at Manny now. They've got a new coaching staff. I don't think that's as big of a deal as the reality that, look, a number of years ago, A.J. Carter came through as a running back, committed to LSU, but ultimately LSU went in a different direction. He backed off that commitment, and Myron Warren came out of there. LSU flirted with him on the D-line. He went to Texas, and then Tackett Curtis, I think, really put it in the headlines, given he had an LSU offer, but I early on never thought Tackett Curtis was going to stay in state, and I think he wanted to go somewhere else. He did. He went to Cal. He also did it in a year, Matt, where they were transitioning from Orgeron to Kelly. They'd gone back-to-back 500 seasons, and 6 of the top 10 guys in the state that year, starting with Arch Manning at the top, left the state of Louisiana and signed elsewhere. So I don't know if it was as big of a Manny thing as it just was the irony that they had some guys come through there that just not ended up at LSU. But now, whatever it is, that debate or conversation is in the books because Talon Singleton is on board and he's confident in his commitment. And they've got a guy now coming from a Manny Tiger to an LSU Tiger.
Shea, tell us a little bit more about Talon Singleton because I do see he plays safety in high school but is projected as a linebacker. Is that right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of the kind of coming downhill in the box stuff a year ago at Manny was done by Tackett Curtis. So there's a lot of people that think that Talon Singleton, with Tackett Curtis now at Southern Cal as a true freshman, that Talon Singleton is going to have a really, really big season as a senior this fall. They're going to use him on offense. He's going to play some receiver, but also is going to play kind of that star position, which is kind of a roving nickel at times, just someone who a bit of a tween. He's probably 6'1". He'll be in that kind of 6'2" range by the time he settles in college. He's a little north of 200 pounds right now, entering his senior year. And he can play middle linebacker. He can play on the edge. He can play safety. He can play in the nickel. So super, super versatile. One of the more intriguing guys in Louisiana this cycle, but he is ranked as a linebacker, and he's ranked as, I think, the number 11 or 12 linebacker in the country right now on the On3 industry rankings. So across the board, a 4-star, across the board, a top 300 guy. So he's very highly thought of by all the recruiting services.
So it's 20 commits now for this class, Shea, with Singleton on board. I know you mentioned that the majority of them are from the state of Louisiana. Look, you cover this and have for a long time. Is this why is this surprising? It seems like LSU's always led with the state of Louisiana.
I think it's surprising because I think from a year ago, they have more than half, or 2 years ago, more than half the state last year, Arch Manny's class, Northern Appalachian State left, 6 of the top 10 guys and went and played elsewhere, and all of them had LSU offers. So you want to be able to say early on in Brian Kelly's tenure here that, hey, they are putting an emphasis in Louisiana. They're locking it down. They're not letting guys get out. And you see the immediate benefits. Matt, remember 2 years ago when Kelly first got here, I should say 2 cycles ago, they had 15 total high school signees. But look what Emory Jones and Will Campbell came in and did right away at LSU coming out of Louisiana. So just locking up the state is important. And I went back and checked what they call the modern recruiting era, which goes back to 2000. LSU has never landed all 10, or I should say the top 10 prospects in Louisiana. There's always been at least one player who went elsewhere. Now, there's been years where they didn't offer everybody that was in the top 10. Obviously, LSU's evals will differ from the recruiting industry, but by and large, that's a good indicator of how your success rate was in Louisiana, is what that top 10 looks like. They have offered all of the top 10 this year in Louisiana, and now all but 2 of them, Wardell Mack and Dominic McKinley, who happen to be the number 1 and 2 players in the state, are committed to LSU, and Mack and McKinley remain uncommitted. So there's a chance here to make a little history and be, at least in the modern era, which dates back to 24 years of recruiting cycles, to be the first staff that offered and got all of the top 10 players in the state.
Shea, I'm looking at at the On3 comparison here. McKinley, 83% toward LSU. Mack, 79% toward LSU. Are we thinking that each of those guys are heavy LSU leans?
I think it's one of those things where they have always been considered as having LSU as the team to beat, given they were from Louisiana. McKinley's recruitment really took off after his junior year, so it's all still pretty relatively fresh for him. He made a bunch of visits in June to out-of-state schools for the first time, so he's sort of going through the recruiting process a bit later than a lot of other guys did, just because he had just such a huge junior season at Acadiana. Mack has been offered by a lot of schools since he was a young kid playing at John Ehret. So he's very familiar with LSU and other schools had to offer. He'll announce here in the coming weeks. I would say that LSU has stiff competition on both. I'll also say LSU still has official visits left with both those guys, and the main competition used their official visits in June, so there was some momentum coming out of this summer. And both guys will be at the Bayou Splash recruiting event on Friday, which beginning tomorrow, Matt, we're in a 1-week period where kids can visit campuses. Then it goes to a dead period all the way into September. So all of these kids who want to announce before their senior year, which is a lot of them, including Wardell Mack, the number 2 player in Louisiana, coming out of John Ehret as a DB, where do you go this week? Like, if you only visit one college campus, that's kind of telling that you gave one school a visit before you were ready to decide on who you were picking. Even more so if that school is LSU, one of your leaders, and in these cases, the in-state team. So I do think LSU could be considered the team to beat for both, but I think it's far from being over. There's work to be done.
All right, Shea, last thing for you. Shea Dixon's with us, again, On3, the Bengal Tiger. Really good time to join up and subscribe up there if you're interested as recruiting kind of gets toward the Bayou Splash. Can you kind of give us a primer for the Bayou Splash this coming weekend?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a pool party event, and everybody is doing something. So as I noted, you've got a 7-day window here where you can get kids to campus, and everybody's got an event. I mean, there's pool parties, there's barbecues, whatever you want to call it, everybody's doing the same thing, eating and hanging out. So everyone is sort of jockeying to say, who can we get to campus? Because so many of these kids are inching closer to a decision. LSU's got a very nice list put together. Talon Singleton, the 5-star out of Duncanville, Caden Durham, his 4-star teammate at running back, are both going to be there. As I mentioned, McKinley, Mack. There's a number of other big-time offensive line targets that they'll have in town, including 2 guys that they're really honing in on, Ori Williams and Blake Ivey, both out of Texas. And you sort of just kind of hang out and you get to know the staff a little more. The players will be getting back as they get ready for report date. You spend a lot of time with other commitments or other guys who are top targets, and you're down there with your family. So it's sort of like a little mini official visit weekend where you're around a lot of people. You get the vibe for LSU. You meet with your position coach. and they kind of really make that final pitch before your senior year. Hey, this is why we want you. This was an invite-only event. You're on the invite list for a reason, and more often than not, if you look back at the numbers, Matt, we've dug back into it just looking at last year, how Kelly and them ran this event. The uncommitted guys at the event were guys like Jay Vantoviano, for instance, and a number of in-state kids who, I think of the uncommitted guys who came, let's say 10 of them were there, I think 7 or 8 of them ended up signing with LSU. So this weekend could be really paramount towards deciding ultimately what the class looks like on signing day.
He is Shea Dixon, On3, the Bengal Tiger. You'll follow him on Twitter at Shea Dixon. Busy time, man. We always appreciate a couple minutes. Thanks, Shea.
Yes, I'm sure. And next time some commits roll in, I'll jump back on. So hopefully we have a busy few weeks ahead.
We always look forward to it, man. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.